Detroit, Michigan, Brewster Projects, but you can go to any hood worldwide and that Colt 45 is cheaper than both. Go ahead, little nigga, take a swig to the throat. My cousin handed me a glass in a brown paper bag and that seal wasn't broken. When I twisted the top, I felt that cold foam drizzle down my wrist. Bottle tilted to the heavens as I put it to my lips. He was quick to intervene. He said, before we all forget, pot a little sip to remember. And it took some growing up to understand just what he meant. I just didn't see the point of pouring beer into cement. He said it served as rite of passage, the becoming of a man, opportunity for unity and chance to reminisce. Next day I go to school, I pull a pencil out my vest, punched a hole into my juice box and I poured it on the desk. I remember lonely nights, remember pissing in my bed. I had to remember my father, and that nigga ain't even dead. But with time and experience, perseverance and dissonance and sentencing, and police forces looking very militant, ain't no perfect world. That's not how it go. Where I'm from, we live by Hammurabi's code. You know, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, blow for a blow, soul for a soul. Caught in cycles, killing your rivals, screaming survival. Churches, walking in hearses, hands on the Bible, defend this from the beginning, witness with eyes closed. Sisters, mothers, and daughters, keeping the lights on. Cycles, killing your rivals, witness with eyes closed. Defend this from the beginning, hands on the Bible. Sisters, mothers, and daughters, keeping the lights on. So don't say the system is broke. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do. So we still pouring on the curb, puddles of bitches brew. To remember. Thank you. So I'll just share a little bit of my upcoming thesis, and I wanted to, introduce myself a little bit before we get started. So my name is Steph. Everybody gets that shit wrong. Everybody calls me Steven, but it's actually Stephen. But it's all good. And I'm currently a MFA candidate in the photography program at the Rhode Island School of Design. And I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and I was raised by resilient black women like many other people in my area. And my Aunt Natalie was a big part of my life. She was one of those people that, you ever had that auntie that's just crazy and everybody know they crazy, but you just love them anyway? Like, that's kind of what my aunt was for me. But when I was graduating high school, she actually got sentenced to 18 to 33 years in prison for a nonviolent crime. And, that was really tough for me to swallow. And over the years, we still stayed close, and, we wrote each other often. I would go visit and buy her snacks and all of that stuff. And when I started my program at RISD, she said, you should really use your art and your social platform to create change. And she really inspired me to do that. And she, really wanted me to go far into this project, and she would help me do that while continuing to fight for her release, because she was determined to be at my master's graduation. We both kind of knew that was like the last one, because I'm not cut out for no 6 or 7 year PhD program. That's like the next step below prison. So I'm like, no, I don't want that. But my aunt's fate is actually not very uncommon. There are more than like 6.5 million people in the current U.S. criminal justice system. And what's really crazy about that is that 40% of that population is made up of African Americans, despite only making up 12% of the population. So we at a point in time where black people are 5 times more likely to go to prison than white people, which is insane to me. But I really wanted to use the resources at RISD to really find out why this was happening. And I really, began making work to really understand like the basics about prison. And one of the things that I was really drawn to was doing cyanotypes, looking at different prison architecture. And I was really inspired by looking at Jeremy Bentham's panopticon structure. I know some of the architects in the crowd probably are very familiar, and this is elementary to them, but the panopticon is basically a circular structure with a guard in the center that can see all, but no one can see them. And it instills this thinking within prisoners that they are always being watched and they never have a moment's peace. And I'm interested in that imbalance of power and surveillance. So I thought, like, what's a way that I can try to subvert this structure that we are known to use? So I've been going and visiting the different prisons in the United States that are built off of the panopticon structure and pivoting my camera and my lens around them and seeing how these designs and structures place themselves in the community and how they have an effect on this community. And yeah, this is dead real. And I've learned so many things about this project. I even went inside some of these prisons, like East State Penitentiary in Pennsylvania, which this is an experimental operation chair that they used on prisoners there. And this place is currently closed. But and one of the things that I found out is that there's a big economy around prison, and bail bonds is one of those things. Bail bonds, in my opinion, is one of the most unequal aspects about our criminal justice system because it directly ties people's freedom up into how much money they have, which not only is it unfair, but it's profitable. And I'm thinking about ways that we can profit, like how people profit off of Black life and Black suffering. Naturally, I had to go to Louisiana. Louisiana is the place with the highest rate of incarceration in the world. It also had one of the highest rates of chattel enslavement in the world. So I'm trying to investigate this connection by looking at places like slave-built mansions and plantations that for some reason people pay money to get married in these places, or even like witnessing the slave's perspective of the light just creeping through the nooks and crannies of one of the last remaining slave shacks in the South, or even prisons that have inmates participate in bloody sports for the amusement of spectators, or even former slave cabins that are now renovated and are luxury bed and breakfast spots. It's weird, and this picture is particularly important to me because while I was taking this photograph, I actually got hit on by like 6 white women that were like drunk and staying on the premises. And I'm like, y'all don't see nothing weird about this? Like right here of all places? And like, one of them even touched me and was like, hey, are you staying in one of the cabins tonight? And I'm like, what the fuck I look like? Like, no, like, no, not in a million years. Like, but it's really like hard to, confront this type of history. But, I chose to keep going with that. And, I've been going to these different prison trade shows to keep following the paper trail. It really looks into how incarceration and everyone who works in the criminal justice system are attending these conferences. And they're not open to the public, but with a little bit of slick talking and, some money from my school, I was able to get access to places like this. And, they show all these different things like, modern-day X-ray machines that, look like modern-day torture devices, or the food that prisoners eat, or even like the transportation that brings prisoners to place, or even actual torture devices like this new taser glove that just came to market. And I actually tried this thing on myself. It works. And that's actually a self-portrait of me looking. And I think that's like one of the most important things that I'm trying to do with this project is to take a look and further emphasize that I want to subvert the panopticon. And, this work had some bumps in the road and stuff like that. And in April, I got a call from my mom, and she told me that my aunt had passed away from a stroke in Huron Valley Women's Correctional Facility. And, that phone call really changed my life, and it really made it hard for me to continue on with this project. But, I had a moment to go visit her sons, my cousins, and I took this photograph of them performing a tribute to their mother. And it's moments like this that really help me understand that these are real issues that affect real people and give them real grief. And I feel that if I can be a part of the change and I can do this work as a tribute to her, then I'm 100% down for that cause. So if you don't take anything from this presentation or anything else from today, I just want to encourage you guys to do one thing, and that is to tell your story. As artists and designers, there is tremendous impact in the things that we create and the stories that we tell. And I think we have a responsibility to wield that power. And I think if you do that responsibly with ethics and passion, together we can all tell the stories that set us all free. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of the conference.